Hello and welcome to another episode of UFO Video Addicts. Let me give you a preview of what I got coming up in this video. The first is some orbs that were seen over an airport in Florida. Also have this video that was taken in Italy several years ago, or 2007. Let's see, this is a video about Russian talking about their ability to get a hold of UFOs. Let's see, also have this video of Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich, who was flying with David Fravor when they saw the Tic Tac UFO over the water, and she talks about that. Also have this article here about a Border Patrol helicopter that had an encounter with one of these Tic Tac type UFOs. I mean, they keep calling them drones, but we know they're not drones. Let's see. This is a video about another force of nature that was recently discovered, or they think they discovered. You know, there's gravity, electromagnetic energy, strong and weak nuclear forces, and then there's supposedly a fifth one that they think they've discovered. And then last is this article about the biggest Navy exercise in a generation. Will include 25,000 personnel across 17 time zones. And, you know, I actually think this is something else besides a Navy exercise. You know, the powers that be have a way of announcing or preparing for things that are, you know, going to actually happen. They always try to call them exercises and things when something else is really going on. But we'll talk about that. So let me go to this first video here. Let's see. Let me start about there.
I've never seen drones with lights like that. What the hell is that? And it's still moving. They're moving slowly. Very slowly. Oh, yeah, I'm sure, but they're in sync. They're like all at the same speed. Look, one's moving fast now. Look at that. Why would they do that? What the hell is that?
Yeah, another thing, you know, people who want to believe that these are like drones being controlled by you know, some pranksters or something. Remember, these drones are loud. You know, I've played enough videos of actual drones, and you can always hear the engines humming. So, you know, if we're not hearing any engines humming, they're not drones. I mean, I don't care what kind of mental gymnastics you can perform. They're not drones. Let's see, let's go to this video here. You know, I think I've played this video a few times, but, you know, again, not everyone has seen these things.
Guardalo. Bello. Zitta, piano. Punti di riferimento, la sega, punti di riferimento. Che bello, beh, ferma, aspetta. Aspetta. Ecco, aspetta, guarda. No. Guarda da vicino, corri. No. Ma quanto è grande?
You know, I believe this was taken from the guy's roof because he had, you know, he had been seeing these UFOs a few times, so he was prepared. And I also believe that there's another version of this where the UFO has been stabilized. But anyways, a link will be in the description. Let me go to this video here. Yeah, this is about the KGB had a classified information exchange program with extraterrestrials. And in this, you know, it's an 8-minute video, but in this section, he talks about how they were able to summon UFOs.
In 1984, the KGB was involved in an ample study documenting unexplained phenomenon near the area of Vladimirovska, a place that hasn't been randomly picked because most UFO encounters were known to be drawn by dangerous spots where weapons of mass destruction were deployed. He states that because of this, the KGB didn't have to pursue UFOs anymore. They have instead learned how to summon them on their grounds.
We can say that we learned to summon UFOs in Vladimirovska.
Savin said in a news report.
To do this, we dramatically increased the number of military flights and movement of the equipment. If the intensity on our side increased, UFOs appeared with a probability of 100%.
The trials were subdued after about half a year of constant UFO summoning.
Here's another thing to consider, I mean, now it's being revealed that our military encounters UFOs all the time. And, like this guy said, whenever they wanted to summon the UFOs, all they had to do was increase their military presence. And think about this. If these UFOs were coming from another planet or another galaxy, do you honestly believe that these extraterrestrials would be able to show up as quickly as they're obviously showing up whenever, the Russian military increases the military presence? And again, it's because they're, these are our neighbors are obviously concerned with what we are doing on their home planet too. But anyways, a link to this will be in the description. Let's see. Okay, yeah, now here is an interview by Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich, who is flying with Fravor. Check out what she has to say.
So we are scanning where we would expect to see something that we're merging with, and we don't see it. But instead we do see something in the water below us. And so my heart sank. I went from being excited that we might go get those bad guys to, oh no, those bad guys have crashed and are sinking, and now we're on scene commanders for search and rescue effort. And then almost as soon as that happened, enter stage left, the tic-tac. And that's what we affectionately refer to it as, because that's what it looked like. I get a lot of questions, what did it look like? And I say, have you ever had a tic-tac? It looked like a little oblong, little from our perspective at our altitude, but about the size of a normal aircraft fuselage. And it was white. It was in sort of a matte finish, just like a tic-tac. And it behaved in a way that we were surprised, unnerved. It accelerated, or it almost didn't accelerate, right? It sort of jumped from spot to spot and tumbled around in a way that was unpredictable. And so, again, my commanding officer, Dave Fravor, Commander Fravor at the time, he took an aggressive maneuver to engage with it. Me being the wingman and also sort of uncomfortable and inexperienced, I said, okay, I've got high cover, which basically means I'm going to hang out over here. I got your back, but I'm not going to get involved too closely. And so he turned with it, and then it just disappeared. It zoomed out of the picture so fast that we all then were scrambling on the radio. And the whole time we're on the radio with each other, just sort of losing our mind. Yeah.
One thing I find interesting is whenever these people talk about it, they always want to reiterate how we don't know what it is, though. We're not saying it's alien, but we don't know what it is. It's like, what do they think it is? Do they think it's like Casper the Ghost? Do they think an orangutan is in there, maneuvering these crafts around? Yeah, yes, maybe they're not extraterrestrial, but they're obviously being built by people that aren't a part of our civilization. Anyways, let me go to this article here. Border helicopter had bizarre encounter with mysterious highly modified drone. The FBI has announced the start of an investigation into a strange near-miss incident that occurred on February 9th, 2021 in the skies over Tucson. At around 10:30 p.m. on that date, a helicopter operated by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, was reportedly buzzed by a high-powered drone that followed it up to a high altitude. Multiple law enforcement agencies also attempted to follow the drone to the point that they could identify its operator, but were unsuccessful. They could identify its operator. So anyways, yeah, so now these things are running into these drones. And, there's more and more of these reports. They're coming out. They're definitely not hiding it anymore. Let's see. This video here is about a new force of nature that's been discovered. Check this out.
This is one of the experiments that draws on our earliest thoughts about nature, the fundamental things that make up our world, the places around us. Can you explain what they're looking at, what they've been doing at Fermi?
Well, Heather, this experiment goes back more than 2,000 years to the ancient Greeks, who wanted to know what the fundamental elements of the universe are. And they described earth, wind, fire, and water as the fundamental forces, which were also a great band in the 70s, Earth, Wind, and Fire. But they came up with the word atomos, which means uncuttable. That if you take fire and you cut it, you've still got fire. You take water, it's still water. So we get the word atom from that, and we later discovered that the world is made of atoms, and we thought those were fundamental particles. Then we started smashing them together, and we found that they're made of particles. You got electrons on the outside with an electric force. You got the nucleus being held by nuclear forces. Then we smash that, and we get quarks, and we get a whole family of particles and forces, and they're all described by this thing called the Standard Model. It's a mathematical description that works. Well, they just did an experiment. They just released results that there may be a new force and a new particle that we didn't know about. And if that's the case, we've got to adjust our model a little bit on the fundamental nature of the universe.
Okay, so tell me about this tiny subatomic particle, right? And tell me about it and this new force and what it appears to do.
Well, the particle that they were looking at is called a muon, which you get when you're breaking an atom apart. These muons appear for just a really, really short period of time, and then they decay into electrons. But they're electric. They're electric, which means that big ring that you saw at the beginning there, that's a big magnet. And when they're electric, they can cause these things to spin around in a certain way. And they predicted that they would wobble like tops at a certain frequency. And it turns out that they wobbled faster than they were supposed to. So there must be another force acting on them that we don't know about. And if there's a new force, there may be a new particle that was acting on them. So this is kind of interesting. If there's a new force out there that we didn't know about, what does that force do? And if I could answer that question, I would win the Nobel Prize right now.
Well, anyways, as much as I want to play that video, the link will be in the description. Definitely check it out. And now, last is this article here from military.com. Biggest Navy exercise in a generation will include 25,000 personnel across 17 time zones. Tens of thousands of sailors and Marines will participate in the biggest U.S. naval exercise in a generation to test how the service will fight across vast distances as they prepare for possible conflict with China or Russia. Aircraft carriers, submarines, planes, unmanned vessels, and about 25,000 personnel will participate in large-scale exercises 2021, which will begin in late summer. The massive exercise will span 17 time zones with sailors and Marines in the U.S., Africa, Europe, and the Pacific joining. Now, I am assuming that, like most everything, there's always another motive. There's always something else going on. For instance, during 9/11, during the 9/11 bombings, right? This is right from Wikipedia. United States government operations and exercises on September 11, 2001. On September 11, 2001, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, was involved in an ongoing operation which involved deploying fighter aircraft to northwestern North America. The U.S. military, or NORAD, had also planned to conduct several military exercises, and a drill were being held by the National Reconnaissance Office, a Department of Defense agency. The operation exercises and drills were all canceled following the September 11th attacks. Now, again, what they were planning for actually happened. Same thing on 7/7, the London bombings. Here, Peter Power reveals more details of the 7/7 terrorist bombing drills. Peter Power, the former Scotland Yard official, anti-terrorist branch official who oversaw drills of the very events of the London bombings on the morning of 7/7 as they were happening, has revealed more details behind the events for the first time in 3.5 years. And let me just play this video of him being interviewed. Yeah, this is Peter Power.
Issue
Today we were running an exercise for a company, bearing in mind I'm now in the private sector, and we sat everybody down in the city, 1,000 people involved in the whole organisation, but the crisis team, and the most peculiar thing was we based our scenario on the simultaneous attacks on the Underground and mainline station. So we had to suddenly switch an exercise from fictional to real. And one of the first things is, get that bureau number. When you have a list of people missing, tell them. And
So
it took a long time.
Just to get this right, you were actually working today on an exercise that envisioned virtually this scenario.
Almost precisely. I was up until 2 o'clock this morning because it's our job, my own company, Advisor Consultants. We specialize in helping people to get their crisis management response. How do you jump from slow time thinking to quick time doing? And we chose a scenario with their assistance, which is based on a terrorist attack because they're very close to a property occupied by Jewish businessmen. They're in the city, and there are more American banks in the city than there are in the whole of New York. A logical thing to do. And I've still got
I was going to say, how extraordinary today must feel for you as it unfolds. You mentioned a few moments ago.
Okay, now remember, he said it was almost exact. Now, this is how exact it was. In the scenario, the number of the train and the number of the bus that was bombed in the scenario were actually the number of the bus and the number of the train that was bombed for real. That's how exact it was. Again, they, I remember watching this when it happens and they mention it, and, I've been looking for the video and any text of that, but you can't find it anymore, but that's how exact it was. And then I also want to go to this event 201, taking into consideration, what just happened now. This event 201 was a 3.5-hour pandemic tabletop exercise that simulated a series of dramatic scenario-based facilitated discussions confronting difficult true-to-life dilemmas associated with response to a hypothetical but scientifically possible pandemic. Now remember, this event, right, which took place on Friday, October 18, 2019. Now, and it was at the Pierre Hotel. Now, an event like this is not something that you just plan a week in advance. This is something that was planned years in advance because, you can't just call the Pierre Hotel and say, hey, I want to reserve one of your ballrooms next week. That's not how it works on this level. Things like this have to be planned months, if not years in advance, because think about all of the PowerPoint presentations and all the paperwork and even all of the scenarios that they discussed. All of these had to have been discussed previously before bringing everyone together to then discuss, what they're, or how they're going to handle it. But check out the details about the scenario are available here. So you click this. And here's the Event 201 scenario. Event 201 simulates an outbreak of a novel zoonotic coronavirus transmitted from bats to pigs to people that eventually becomes efficiently transmissible from person to person, leading to a severe pandemic. The pathogen and the disease it caused are modeled largely on SARS, but it is more transmissible in the community setting by people with mild symptoms. Now again, this was a event scenario that they planned, right, in October of 2019, and then in less than 5 months, it actually happens. I remember growing up and, planning for fire drills, and, because I grew up in California, we also had earthquake drills, but never, and out of all the drills, never did we have a fire drill and then there was a fire. Never did we have a earthquake drill and there was an earthquake, but somehow when you come to this level, right, you can, the United States can have a drill and then it actually happens where, planes run into the buildings, just like in the scenarios. Same thing with this one, the exact same number of the train and the exact same number of the bus that was bombed or that was used in the scenario were actually the numbers of the train and the bus that were actually bombed. So now going back to this, the biggest Navy exercise in a generation, I believe that this is a preparation for maybe a UFO reveal or a UFO sighting. You know, like maybe that's what's actually going to happen. That's what this is what they'll be getting ready for. And it's something that I mean, you know, I don't think it's something that they can prevent. I think it's something that they know is going to happen, but they can't prevent it, which is why all of this information about UFOs has been coming out lately. But anyways, the links to all of these will be in the description. Definitely check it out. But yeah, I don't think we're going to have disclosure. I think we're going to have a sighting. I think at the end of summer that our neighbors are finally going to reveal themselves by showing up in some of their large craft. But anyways, that is going to be it for this video. If you like things like this, please give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'll have more things like this. Take care.